Imagine a world, not of green fields and blue oceans, but of endless, shimmering white. A world where colossal sheets of ice, miles thick, bury entire continents. This isn't a scene from a science fiction movie. This was our planet during the Ice Age. What if I told you that the very spot you're standing on right now might have once been crushed under a glacier? For nearly 100,000 years at a time, Earth was locked in a deep freeze. But this wasn't just a colder version of our world. It was a completely different planet, home to bizarre, giant beasts and hardy human ancestors fighting for survival. How did they live? What did they eat? And what happened to this frozen world? Stick with us as we journey back in time to uncover the secrets of the Great Ice Age. The term Ice Age might make you think of one long, continuous winter, but the reality is much more dynamic. The last major glacial period, known as the Pleistocene epoch, was actually a series of glacial and interglacial cycles. Think of it like a planetary heartbeat, with long periods of intense cold, called glacials, punctuated by shorter, warmer spells called interglacials, like the one we're living in now. During the peak of the last glacial maximum, around 20,000 years ago, global temperatures were about 6 degrees Celsius colder than today. That might not sound like a huge drop, but the effect was catastrophic. So much of the world as water was locked up in ice that sea levels plummeted by as much as 120 meters, or nearly 400 feet. This exposed vast new land masses. The English Channel didn't exist. Britain was connected to mainland Europe. A massive land bridge called Beringia connected Asia to North America, allowing the first humans to walk into a new continent. Australia, New Guinea, and Tasmania were all part of a single giant landmass called Sahul. The world map was completely redrawn. The ice sheets themselves were mind-bogglingly huge. The Laurentide ice sheet covered most of Canada and the northern United States, reaching as far south as New York City. In some places, this ice was over 3 kilometers thick. The sheer weight of it was so immense that it literally depressed the Earth's crust. Now, what about life? It's easy to imagine a barren, lifeless wasteland, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The Ice Age was the age of megafauna. Giant animals that roamed the cold, dry grasslands, known as mammoth steppes. You've heard of the woolly mammoth, of course. These magnificent beasts, covered in thick fur with massive, curving tusks, were the undisputed kings of the frozen plains. But they weren't alone. There were woolly rhinos, giant ground sloths the size of elephants, and the formidable saber-toothed cat, with its terrifying 7-inch-long canine teeth. In Europe, herds of giant Irish elk, with antlers spanning 12 feet across, grazed alongside steppe bison. The oceans were different too, teeming with life adapted to the cold. But the coastlines were in completely different places. And amidst this world of ice and giants were our ancestors. These weren't primitive cavemen grunting at each other. They were anatomically modern humans, Homo sapiens, just like us. They were intelligent, resourceful, and incredibly resilient. They lived in small, mobile hunter-gatherer groups, constantly on the move, following the herds of megafauna that were their primary source of food, clothing, and tools. Their survival depended on an intimate knowledge of their environment. They knew the migration patterns of the animals, the best places to find shelter, and which plants were edible. They crafted sophisticated tools from stone, bone, and ivory. Finely pointed spears for hunting, sharp blades for butchering, and needles for sewing warm, tailored clothing from animal hides. This was a crucial innovation that allowed them to survive the biting cold. Their world was not just about survival, though. They had a rich, cultural and spiritual life. Deep inside caves, by the flickering light of animal fat lamps, they created breathtaking works of art. The famous cave paintings at Lascaux in France and Altamira in Spain depict the world around them with stunning accuracy and beauty. Galloping horses, charging bison, and graceful deer. These paintings weren't just decoration. They may have been part of shamanistic rituals, hunting magic, or a way to pass down knowledge from one generation to the next. They also carved small, intricate sculptures, like the famous Venus figure, which may have been symbols of fertility or survival. These artifacts give us a profound glimpse into the minds of our Ice Age ancestors, showing us that they were people who thought, dreamed, and created, just as we do. So, how did this frozen world come to an end? Around 15,000 years ago, the planet began to warm up. The glacial heartbeat was shifting again. This was not a smooth or gradual process. It was a turbulent period of rapid climate change. The immense ice sheets began to melt, but they didn't just fade away quietly. As they retreated, they would form massive meltwater lakes, sometimes held back by dams of ice. When these ice dams inevitably broke, they unleashed cataclysmic floods of a scale unimaginable today. Floods that carved out entire landscapes in a matter of days. The channeled scablands in Washington state are a dramatic testament to one of these As the glaciers retreated and the climate warmed, the world transformed. Forests began to replace the mammoth steppe. The giant megafauna, adapted to a cold, dry world, struggled to cope. The changing vegetation, combined with the pressure from increasingly effective human hunters, led to a mass extinction event. The woolly mammoths, the saber-toothed cats, the giant sloths, they all vanished from the earth forever. It was the end of an era. The sea levels rose, flooding the land bridges and creating the coastlines we recognize today. Human populations adapted as well. They developed new hunting strategies for smaller forest animals and began to exploit marine resources more intensively. This period of dramatic change, the end of the Ice Age, set the stage for the next great revolution in human history. The invention of agriculture. The Ice Age may seem like a distant, alien world, but its legacy is all around us. The glaciers carved out the Great Lakes, sculpted mountains and valleys, and deposited the fertile soils that our farms depend on. The story of our ancestors' survival and ingenuity during this incredibly harsh time is written into our very DNA. Studying the Ice Age isn't just about understanding the past, it's also a powerful lesson for our future. It reminds us that Earth's climate is not static. It can, and does, change dramatically. By understanding the forces that drove the planet into and out of these deep freezes, we can better understand the climate changes we are facing today. The Ice Age is a stark reminder of our planet's power and our own species' incredible journey. Thanks for joining us on this trip back in time to the frozen world of the Ice Age. If you found this journey as fascinating as we did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into our planet's amazing history.